Hey, what's up, guys? It's Kaizen. I wanted to share a cure that I found for perfectionism. I'm not sure what your childhood was like growing up, but in my childhood, I was encouraged to never be messy. I always had to have my clothes ironed. So I went to Catholic school, and my mom would always want me to have ironed shirts, ironed pants, have my belt on, have my tie. I would always have to have a haircut and have my hair super short. So there's no way that I would get to wear dreads. And she doesn't really like the fact that I have dreads now, but it's okay. She still loves me. I would always have to have my bed made. I would always have to have my room clean. And as an adult now, I actually have a huge problem with messiness. And in fact, it turns out that the messiness is the cure to perfection. Because if you're a perfectionist, then what you need to do is be more messy. Now, to be clear, I actually don't think that perfectionism is a problem. I think that trying to be perfectionist in every single area of your life is the problem. Because if you look at it, anyone who's exceptional at anything in their life, they're exceptional at one, maybe two other things, but they're not exceptional at everything and every part of their life. It's like I told a client, you don't need to be a billionaire with a six pack and two penises and Einstein level IQ and also amazing at piano and also a really good singer and also likes to do theoretical physics equations on his free time. It just doesn't make any sense. So I think a desire for perfection can be really helpful, but you want to apply it very specifically in the areas that matter. The reason that this came up is because I was just coaching a client who owns a wellness company. And as part of the activities for his wellness company, he has to do marketing. He has to do networking, like reaching out to prospective clients. He has to think about his brand. He has to actually then provide the service to his own clients. And what he was feeling was super overwhelmed and super stressed in his life. And when I talked to him and we did an audit of his day, we identified that he felt like he was being busy constantly, like every hour from wake up to wake to not wake down to lie down. He felt like he was constantly doing something. So it's not like this guy was lazy. And he said it's pretty much been his life for the last 10 years. He's always performing. But I told him, hey, look, okay, Elon Musk has three, I think, $1 billion plus companies in SpaceX, Tesla, and I don't know if Neuralink is publicly owned, but we could consider that tier of company. If that guy can get so much done in 24 hours, then why can't the rest of us get just as much done? And what I helped him realize was that the problem is that he was actually trying to be perfect in too many areas of his business. He was the one editing all of his clips before he even sent it to the editor he was paying. He was the one on the phone with every single client. He was the one doing the processing to decide who he should be hopping on the call with because they're a qualified prospect versus not. He was the one managing his social media actively. And it just doesn't make sense for one person to try to do everything perfectly. The way you want to look at perfectionism is this. Perfectionism is a tool that you want to use on the things that are most important because only you can do them. I want to say that again. Perfectionism is a tool that you only want to use in the areas that only you can do. So if you're the CEO of a company, there's going to be certain things that you're not going to be the best at, and you need to be okay with being messy. So maybe you're the CEO and you're not particularly good at being a manager. You're a product visionary. You're not super good at doing like 30, 60, 90 reports and 360 reviews and all this other shit that HR people have to do. So eventually what you want to do is you want to get to a point where you hire someone else to do that thing. And even if you're aware that they might not do that thing as well as you would do it, you're okay with that area being messier. So the thing that you can focus on, which is making great fucking products, can be perfect. So oftentimes the desire to be perfect comes from a place of insecurity. It's a really great quote, which is, I think, what was his name? Stephen Holmes. I'll find the name and I'll put it in the description. But he said, perfectionism is just procrastination masquerading as quality control. Like, such a fucking fire quote. And basically what this means is that we procrastinate and use perfectionism as an excuse because what we want to actually do is avoid the pain of the judgment that we're going to feel if we do something at less than a perfect standard. And that's helpful when you're applying it in an area where you actually do need to be perfect. But it's not helpful when you're doing it in areas that don't need to actually be perfect for you to get your job done. And it makes sense, right? Like, even if we look at the creative process, like if you look at an artist, like imagine you're Picasso. Do you think Picasso, every single sketch and every single painting that he did, he wanted to be perfect? Of course not. Or if you look at Da Vinci, so there's a really great biography on Da Vinci by Walter Isaacson. And it talks about the fact that actually most of Da Vinci's paintings were never actually finished. Think about that. One of the greatest creative geniuses of all time had a bunch of unfinished paintings. He was okay with being messy in his process. So this is something I'm actually practicing right now, because what I was realizing is that I wanted everything in my life to be perfect. Like, my fitness needs to be on point all the time. And I need to run a successful business. And my relationships need to always be thriving, and I need to always be making new friends and romantic partners and all of that. And what happens is you get into this mode of like trying to hyper optimize every place in your life. And because you're trying to be perfect everywhere, you're not really perfect anywhere. And you end up becoming miserable and burnt out. So as a practice for you, this is what I want to encourage you to do. Get a piece of paper right now, and I want you to write down all the things that you do in a day. Like all of them, not even like just the big things that are priorities, but like brushing your teeth, taking a shower, working out, meditating, reading a book, calling up friends, cooking food. Then you can look at the business functions, marketing, sales, brand management, client fulfillment. Look at all the things, like literally everything that you do in a day. And then I want you to identify the one thing, single thing that is the most important thing to get right. And that's the only standard that you get to be perfect in for the next week. Everything else, you get to be messy. So if you have like one of those, those electric toothbrushes and it has like a 2-minute timer, what if you don't actually brush your teeth for the full 2 minutes? What then? Or what if instead of cooking a meal, and having having it be super well prepared, nutritious, and seasoned, and that takes you 20 minutes. What if you spend 10 minutes putting together a meal that's actually not like the healthiest thing? It's like 80% as healthy as you normally would do. Or what if instead of every piece of, let's say you're someone who markets on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube Shorts or something like that. What if you let all the reels be 80% as good as they can be, but you save 50% of the time because you realize that, hey, this shit is going to be around for like 24 to 48 hours and then it's going to be done anyway. I want you to be more messy. I don't want you to not be a perfectionist, but I want you to be perfect in the areas that matter. Because you've probably already heard this before. The person taking tons of imperfect action is always going to beat the person who's taking very little perfect action. Because usually the person who's taking very little perfect action is not really acting at all. So that's just an insight I wanted to share. I hope that was helpful. Leave me a comment on your thoughts on perfectionism and where actually perfectionism can be pretty healthy. Because I think perfectionism gets a bad rap. And look, I don't know about you, but I'm probably going to have a perfectionistic streak my whole life. So I might as well work with it. Peace.